A podcast boy becomes a podcast man in Mouthbreathers Radio episode 10, where we are talking about everything film junk related for the week of November 21st to November 27th. I am your announcer, FilmApe, and we're going to be talking about guessing Funkos. We're going to be talking about Christmas stories. We're definitely going to be talking about Terrifier 2, and we're going to be covering a whole lot more here on this week's episode of Mouthbreathers Radio. And now, here's your host. He could be Jay's son. It's Drew Nugent.
Hello, and welcome back, everyone. It's another great day in the Mouthbreathers Radio universe, and this is a big one. This is our 10th episode. How do you feel about this film, mate?
I feel like old. I feel like it's like I don't even remember when we started. I don't remember why we're doing this. It's just like we just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's huge because like I've done podcasts before, but I don't think I've ever made more than 3 episodes max. So we're at a good point. Like we have made 10 episodes and we haven't missed a week even. So I think it's going great.
And now we're looking for MeUndies sponsorships. We're getting Audible sponsorships. Like it's time to monetize this thing. Time to like get crazy. Like I think maybe ad right off the top, ad in the middle, red ad by you during your monologue, and then ad to end the show, and then we're golden. We're making money off this bad boy.
I mean, I have a Patreon, which you can also go to, Patreon/Nugentino Cinema, but it's ridiculous that I even have that. But yeah, I mean, I think we should do some ad reads for MeUndies. Like we were talking about Two Bears, one or whatever it is, Tom Segura's podcast, where they had Quentin Tarantino, and he has like obnoxious ads throughout the whole entire thing. But I'll say this: I love the Video Archives podcasts, but those ads are unbearable because the whole time they're trying to do these like funny voices. And it's the cringiest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Example.
Well, Quentin does them, and his are just as bad. But like he does like this like, I feel like what they're going for is like they're trying to make like, because when Quentin Tarantino would talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he would talk about listening to the radio, and he was like, when I was a kid, we didn't just listen to the music, we listened to the commercials too. We didn't change the station, we listened to the whole thing, which had the radio on all day. And he was like, I love like the little voices and like the effort they put into the commercials. So I feel like he's trying to do that. And he'll be like, this is Quentin Tarantino here, like bringing you MeUndies or something like that. And like, but what's really like, that's bad. But like Roger Avery does it too. And like, he'll do these like nerdy voices where he's like really high pitched and it's brutal. Like, I don't even want to try to imitate it because I'm going to be...
I think we've said it before, but they certainly do not need to monetize the Video Archives podcast. I don't think anyone there needs the money.
No, I mean, Quentin Tarantino could be just doing it and putting it up on, his own website, but he has to rake in a little bit more of that quid.
Yeah, you need that quidly, that sweet smelling cheddar.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, not to belabor this too much, but I've been re-listening to Cantankerous. And Reed was talking about on the Lost episode, and all of you should go try to seek that out, the Lost episode of Cantankerous. But this is around when the premiums first started, like 10 years ago. And he's like, maybe this should be a premium episode of Cantankerous. Like this should be like a premium podcast for Cantankerous. But Jay like wasn't into the idea. But then he started talking about like Harlan Ellison, who like refused to do a DVD extra because he believes that anything he does, he should be paid for. And like people don't usually get paid for DVD extras, but he believes like, he doesn't have a Twitter, he doesn't have a Facebook, he doesn't do DVD extras even, because he believes that anything he does, any thought he puts out there, he should be paid for. So I feel like that's kind of what Quentin Tarantino's like thinking. It's not exactly like that because I'm sure he does some stuff for free, But I feel like he's like, if I'm going to put effort into this, I should be paid for it because that's just how it works. But
it takes the fun out of it in the end. You know what I mean? And I was talking to somebody about who, like, certain YouTubers who sold out and certain ones that didn't, and it's always better not to sell out. Like, as soon as you sell out, and again, I understand it would be nice to, like, how awesome would it be to make money and doing the thing that you like doing and make a living off it, all that stuff. But if you take away the fun out of it because you've monetized it, then, like, what's the point? And you, like, lose kind of the magic of it in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, with all the podcast ads, like, I do think they're lame, but I can fast forward through them, like, pretty easily. So I don't mind it too much. But yeah, it's just mainly, it's always the same ones over and over again. It's the same, like, products. Like, I don't know. I just find it super lame. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, but again, like, loads of monetization coming to Mouthbreathers Radio, so be prepared for that.
I just said all that, but if MeUndies wants to sponsor us, go ahead.
Let's jump into the top 5 here.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Launch commit. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Okay, Houston, roll complete. Roger, roll complete.
So right off the top here, we have got episode 3 of Guess the Funko that just, I think, dropped either yesterday or the day before. And it's everyone's favorite show where Sean has acquired a new Funko. Jay and Frank do not know what the Funko is. So then we spend 20 minutes watching them basically play a game of 20 questions until they figure out what the Funko is. Drew, are you a fan of this bit?
I don't even know, honestly, if I've watched any of the videos. I feel like they've all passed me by.
Okay.
I've definitely seen them be posted, but I guess I just didn't, for some reason, I wasn't interested in them. And that's not a slam. I just didn't click on them. But yeah, so basically I could play, like, Guess the Funko myself.
Yeah, are you going to, I'll give you 3 guesses to try. I watched the whole thing, and I commented that this is the definition of anti-entertainment. It is like the least entertaining thing you could possibly imagine, and as a result, that makes it entertaining. So I'll give you, I guess, I think just right off the top of your head, just guess a Funko, and we'll do that 3 times and see if you're even in the vicinity of what Sean added to his collection. So what is your first guess, Drew Nugent?
This is just a guess, like, purely without clues.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you some clues because I know what it is. So if you want to ask, I think it would be amazing if you just one shot get it.
But it could be literally anything. Like, there's so many Funkos. Yes. I don't know. Just because it popped in my head, I'm gonna say Pinhead.
Okay,
from Hellraiser.
It was not Pinhead from Hellraiser.
Yeah, that sucks. Do I raw dog it again for the next guess?
Or you can if you have a question, I'll steer you towards it.
Is this? Well, can I play like 20 questions where I just like ask you a question?
Sure, let's do it.
Is this a male or female Funko?
I don't know if it would necessarily have a gender.
Okay. No, I'm blanking on what it could even be. The Oscar Mayer Wiener truck? I don't know.
I gotta see if that's an actual Funko. That would be amazing.
I doubt it because it wouldn't look like their little character. That's my guess though. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, so that's your second guess.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
Is it from a movie specifically?
Yes. There is an Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. I will send it over to you.
Nice. I'm trying to think, like, is this like a sentient, like a living creature?
Yes, it is a living creature.
But it has to have some sort of gender.
Maybe if it reproduces in a very specific way.
I don't know. I'm blanking. I'm gonna say Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy, but I'm not. That's just random.
So I'll help you narrow it. I'll give you a decade. So I believe it's a sequel, and it came out in the 80s. And by 80s, I mean 1990.
1990.
Yeah, I had to check because I wasn't sure. It's a sequel to an 80s film that came out in 1990.
I was gonna guess, and this isn't my guess, but can I say it anyway?
Yeah.
I was gonna guess Short Circuit, like what's his name? Johnny Five.
Johnny Five is alive.
The sequel came out in 1988.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think this is right, but I'm gonna say RoboCop.
Okay. No. Do you want an actor from the movie?
Sure.
Zach Galligan.
I have no idea who that is. I'm trying to think of something that doesn't have gender, or the gender is questionable, and it's from specifically a 1990 movie, and it's a sequel.
Let's just say there are.
I can think of Back to the Future 3, but I can't think of anything from that.
Biff is genderless.
Yeah.
There are very specific rules around how this creature would multiply.
So it's a creature. I'm trying to think of a creature type movie. Is it something from Tremors?
No.
I give up. I'm never gonna get it.
I think guesses. I'll give you the director, Joe Dante.
Oh, so is it a gremlin? Is it Gizmo?
So it is a Gremlins, but I thought that this was from Gremlins 2, but I'm not entirely sure. It's the 3D glasses Gremlins. I thought it was Gremlins 2.
Nice.
I'm gonna send it over to you.
I'm looking at this Funko of the Oscar Mayer Wiener one. That's pretty interesting. They still have a girl up top.
Yeah.
So they managed to get the classic Funko eyes in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at the 3D Gremlin one. It's pretty cool.
I might have screwed you there if that is from the first Gremlin. I'm guessing they would put Gremlins 2 on it, so I might have screwed you. But
well, I don't think Gremlins 2 was from 1990.
It is. I just confirmed it, but the 3D glasses was in Gremlins in the theater scene. So I'm
shocked that I kind of steered you wrong there. I thought it was like 1987.
Yeah, that's me too. That's why I had to look it up. But are you a fan of this Funko, and would you buy it?
I mean, I got into a thing where I tried to buy a few Funkos, and I was like, maybe I'll get into this, but I didn't get into it. I bought Kenny Powers.
Nice.
I'm trying to think what else I had. I definitely had. Oh, I had because I got the mystery box from winning the Film Drunk Trivia Showdown.
Okay.
And Sean just basically mailed me a bunch of like miscellaneous items he just had lying around. I got Roseanne season 1 on DVD. I got Real Steel on Blu-ray, which is a nice little in-joke.
Amazing. Yeah.
I never watched it though, but and then I got, and this is, I mean, no offense, Sean, I didn't think it's funny, so it's not. This isn't a dig in any way. But I got what was probably the worst Funko Pop I've ever seen. It was George Clooney's character from Tomorrowland.
Serious? What?
But it was still amazing to like. I'm not like it was amazing to get that mystery box. Like it was really cool. So that's not a dig in any way. I also got this. I mean, the viewers or the listeners can't see this, but I got this nice little Film Drunk mug right here.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Man, these Tomorrowland Funkos are terrible. Holy smokes. How is that a thing?
Yeah.
I wonder if this is like worth a ton because people, I mean, this is selling for $40 Canadian. Frank Walker, the notorious Frank Walker character from the movie Tomorrowland. Everyone's classic. Curious. No, I'm adding that. Everyone remembers the classic Tomorrowland and Frank Walker. Who could forget? What a great character.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it's completely. It might as well have been nothing, like just like a random, like faceless Funko Pop.
Yeah, that is terrible. It's literally him wearing like a open button down shirt and a shirt underneath it and pants. Like it's just like you could just call it a guy Funko Pop.
Yeah, it was awful, and that's no. I mean, like it was funny to receive it, and there was tons of other stuff in that box, but yeah, I had that. And then I had the Kenny Powers one, and I feel like maybe one more, but I can't remember. And yeah, that was the extent of my Funko Pop collection.
Did you flip this Frank Walker Funko?
I didn't want to admit that, but I did.
Yeah, you made someone's life happier by flipping that sucker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's as far. I don't know if I'll get back into Funko collecting, but have you ever bought a Funko?
Not for myself. I bought some for. I bought my brother a Carmen Sandiego Funko, and I bought him Dr. Evil and Austin Powers.
That's not bad.
I was literally he had like bought some Funkos, so as a joke for a Christmas present, I just went on Amazon and bought all the cheapest Funkos that I could find and gave it to him.
Yeah.
So, which he then left in his window and sun bleached the heck out of the boxes. So I was like, these are collector's items.
Yeah, I get very paranoid about like my collection and like it getting any damage in any way.
Yeah, you gotta keep those blinds closed.
Yeah. But I think that takes us to our next topic. And that's Jay posted a poll on the Patreon. And it was about whether he should take or whether he would receive action on his Swiss Chalet order where he was missing cranberry sauce. I'm guessing it was Thanksgiving time, and even though you Canadians have a different Thanksgiving, he was still feeling festive.
Yeah, we're jealous of your turkey dinner at the end of November, so we gotta go after that ourselves.
Well, what do y'all eat during Thanksgiving?
We do the same, but I mean, we then have a big gap between our Christmas dinner at Thanksgiving and our Christmas dinner in December, our turkey dinner in October and our turkey dinner for Christmas in December. So we get jealous of you guys. So I think they released the festive meals early to kind of fill that gap in. So that was what Jay was getting. What did you vote in the poll?
I was kind of confused on what I was supposed to be like answering, but like, cause I think it said it was like, no action will be taken. You don't deserve your cranberry sauce. And that's what I voted for.
Okay.
But like what I voted for, I was kind of more thinking like you shouldn't even be complaining.
Okay.
So like, that's why I voted that way. And I'm not really like, obviously you can complain, but like, that's just what I lean towards.
So the thing is you get to give a little peek behind the curtain as a door dasher yourself. And
that's why I was a little biased. Like, and it's not like obviously he can do it. He can, if you can get a coupon, then you should do it. Like, so yeah, but in reality, and he never said anything else, like to the contrary. But like, it's probably not the driver's fault. It's probably the restaurant's fault. But like, he never said otherwise, so it's fine.
Yeah, like unless the driver opened up his order and took out the cranberry sauce.
That's a possibility, but I don't know why that would happen.
It's definitely on the restaurant. So there's a few things on the poll. There was what you voted for, which was we were voting for the outcome of Jay's complaints. And Jay notoriously complains to and
that's another thing.
Service.
Like, and no offense, Jay, you're probably not listening to this, but like I don't like Karenism. So yeah, I'm just not big into like complaining and like bothering these people. But if you can get a free coupon, like, go for it.
I'm definitely into Jay complaining to customer service because he generally ends up with some funny stories. So we were presented with this. He was complaining about missing cranberry sauce, and whoever Valerie, which may or may not have been an AI for Uber support, she was very concerned about how important it was to have this item that he paid for, Swiss Chalet. So we got the choice between 5 or 4 different outcomes here. No action taken. You don't deserve your cranberry sauce, which given your background, it makes sense why you chose that one. The other one was meal is free. Please keep ordering from us. Then there was $5 off for the hassle. What's a festive meal without cranberry sauce? And then there was free meal plus $5 off after dropping Frank's name as a fellow Uber driver. And that won out with 48.6% of the votes. But Drew, what was the outcome that was just posted today of that poll?
I'm trying to remember. I think he got a $5 coupon without dropping Frank's name. I think that was it.
Yeah, so they refunded him $5, and so that was fairly cheap, or it was a cheaper meal. And then if you're on the Discord, Kim, who is apparently a Swiss chalet expert and a huge fan, and she specifically noted that her family, she says, someone gets my parents a gift certificate for $50 to Swiss Chalet every Christmas, and they live like kings all year long, going back over and over. And then she said, I just talked with my sister about getting my mom and stepdad a Swiss Chalet gift certificate as part of their gift. So I think I'll keep them in business for a few months at least. And so she broke down the cost of this meal, and there was a $10 coupon with it and all that. And Jay got it for very cheap with the coupon and all this stuff. But Kim was worried that Swiss Chalet would not remain in business with this type of business practice. What's your familiarity with Swiss Chalet?
It's not very much. I was going to ask specifically what kind of stuff they serve, but the only familiarity, I've heard the name, but it's just from listening to Film Junk. Like I know it is a place that Jay not frequents, but goes to. And like I think of it as being a very Canadian thing.
I was trying to find like a comparison in the States, and without having gone there or really knowing anything about it, I think the best comparison is like a Boston market.
Oh, okay. I haven't been to those much, but I've seen them.
So they do, their big thing is like rotisserie chicken, and it would be like a low end like sit down restaurant is how I would describe it. I have never been to Swiss Chalet. Ever.
So like just like slightly above fast food.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I have people that they love it. It's like there's all these trashy Canadian chains like Tim Hortons that people are like going crazy for, even though they're absolutely garbage. And Swiss Chalet gets the support of some Canadians, but as according to Kim, not enough to keep them from going out of business. And the Swiss Chalet that was in my town actually moved into the old Blockbuster space after Blockbuster, and it did not last. And I never went to it ever. And so it's just, they do like holiday meals. And I think that's the big thing that people associated with it as like a cheap way of getting like a Christmas style dinner. And I'm assuming that's why Jay was, despite the fact literally being in a culinary mecca like Toronto, where even his acquaintance Matty Matheson has multiple restaurants that he probably could frequent. He
really has his own restaurants? I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, he's got a couple, I believe.
Yeah.
So, but Jay chooses to patronize Swiss Chalet.
Well, it's comfort food, I'm guessing, is what he's like, why he does it. But I'm very interested in like regional places. So I might try it someday if I'm ever in Canada. But I want to ask you, have you ever heard of Whataburger?
I have heard of Whataburger. From one of your reviews, I think you reviewed the honey something there.
I always forget that you like watch all my old videos, so you've probably seen these things. But but if it wasn't for me, would you ever heard of Whataburger?
Yeah, I've frequented enough YouTube videos where people eat food to have also come across it in other people's content.
Yeah, I was just like, that's a Texas thing, and it's pretty big, so it makes sense that it would spread around. But what else is there? I don't know, but what are some Canadian ones? Like there's Swiss Chalet, there's Tim Hortons, which you mentioned.
Boston Pizza.
I've heard of that. Boston Pizza.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Is that all you can think of?
White Spot. is like a Western Canada one, and then so White Spot's like it started out as like a traditional like drive-in style like burger place, and then they transitioned to like sit-down restaurants, and now they have a fast food version of it called Triple O's. And that is the reason I was thinking about that, because I just went a couple weeks ago, that they are expanding. So we have one now closer to us. It's actually pretty decent, but I think from what I've gathered from like even talking with you and watching other stuff, everyone has the same stuff regionally. It just goes by different names. And as much as people are like, oh, White Spot or Shake Shack or all this stuff, I don't think any of it is as good as people ever hype them up to be.
We have Shake Shack in downtown Houston specifically, but I've never tried it. I haven't been that interested, honestly. I don't know why. But I've had In-N-Out. In-N-Out's a California thing, but it's in other states. It's here now, but not very like the nearest one's in Katy, which is about an hour and a half from where I live. But I like In-N-Out. I think the fries are horrible, which I don't even understand why they're so bad. But the burgers are really good. So, and the shakes are like, I mean, the shakes aren't great, but I like them in like kind of like a trashy way. But yeah.
What style, like just a step above fast food, do you have?
Or say that again?
Like, I don't know if that was so restaurants that are just like styled so they're just a step above fast food. What do you have for those? Yeah.
Chipotle, I put that. I mean, it is fast food basically, but I put it above basic fast food. I mean, Whataburger kind of is above it, but it's still fast food to me. I don't know. I would put that lower on the tier ranking. I guess like Five Guys is probably a little bit higher. It's like more elevated. I heard Jay talking about, because Five Guys was talked about a lot for a while, and Jay was not a fan of Five Guys, but I think it's decent. Although I will say the burgers are a lot smaller than you would think, and they're pretty expensive.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I actually know the person or one of the people that brought Five Guys to Alberta, the chain. So it was like a huge deal. And I went there and I was like, I have literally never been less impressed with something in regards to like being. And I think once you've like made a burger yourself, you're like, the best burgers are like homemade burgers.
Well, I think they're decent. I mean, I can see where you're coming from, but I mean, I like that you can add all these different things to it. Like you can get jalapenos or like whatever you want on a burger. But you can do that at Whataburger too, to be fair. But I like their fries a lot because they give you this like ridiculous bag of fries. But yeah, I mean, I think they're okay. Another thing I would put above basic fast food, like Subway, is like basic fast food. I would say that is basic.
Yeah.
But stuff like Jersey Mike's or like Jimmy John's, like those kind of sandwich places, I would put above, and that's like actually decent.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind. But
I think I have never been. I know Jimmy John's because I think there's one in Kalispell in Montana, but I've never been to it. I don't know Jersey Mike's. So it's
here's
just
a
like
question for
it's
you.
just like a fancy sub.
Go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
It's just a sub. It's like they have like a lot higher quality bread than like Subway has.
Okay.
And they have like all kinds of different things. Like they have like Philly cheesesteaks, or they have like all these different subs with all these different kinds of meats or whatever.
Okay.
So, and they drizzle it with like olive oil or like do all these different kinds of things.
Ooh, fancy. Yeah,
but I enjoy it. But I was gonna say, like, do you go to like Kalispell, Montana, or that's somewhere you've been like occasionally?
Yeah, I have wealthier friends that own properties in Montana, so I've been down there on occasion and stayed in fancier places than I have the right to be staying in. So yeah, I've been to Kalispell a few times. I saw Fury Road in Kalispell with a group of like 10 people. And,
you were probably like near me, not really near me, but like kind of near me, because when I was in Wyoming in 2015, which is when Fury Road came out.
Okay.
I was in Jackson Hole, and that's kind of like, I think that's about 7 hours from Alberta.
Okay. Interesting.
So,
we could have crossed paths.
I was gonna say, like, how often do you cross the border? I'm guessing it's not that often.
When I lived in Vancouver, it was way more often. Like I would do it, I don't know, once or twice a month. But I don't. It's been years since I've been to the States, and we're not that far. We're only like 2 hours from the border, 2.5 hours from the border. But
you're just going into like a no man's land of like country.
Yeah, you're
down
exactly right. Like
Yeah.
to get to Kalispell, while when it's open, you can drive the Going to the Sun Road, which when you're watching the opening of The Shining, that's the Going to the Sun Road, or at least a portion of it. So it's awesome to drive that. And that road is like 10 out of 10, like one of the most crazy roads you can drive. And it's so busy there. So that is super fun, but I'm not interested in driving for like 6 or 8 hours to like get somewhere. So I generally don't do it. But
have you never gone on like an American road trip?
No, I think like Utah is like the furthest away in the United States that I've been, and that's not even that far.
Yeah.
So
I mean, at least you've been like to the U.S. I've never been to Canada.
Yeah.
I've never been out of the country. So.
Yeah, but like I'm not like a jet setter. I use my imagination to travel.
Yeah, I like to travel, and I would love to go out of the country. It's just like I would rather be trapped in the U.S. than I would be trapped in Canada, honestly, because I feel like there's only so many things you can do in Canada. And this is from pure guesswork because I haven't been there, but just from what I know.
If you saw the Black Friday sales up here for movies versus the Black Friday sales in the United States, you would definitely want to be trapped in the United States, because even by looking at the exchange rate, we are getting screwed up here on our UHD costs. Like it is like, it's insane. So even though you live in a place that could break out into civil war at any moment, it's better because you have cheaper UHDs. I don't think we would break out into civil
war. We would break out into war with like another state or something.
But, Texas just on its own, fighting everybody.
But I guess it would be a civil war technically, because it would be a civil war between Americans. But the main reason I say I'd rather be trapped in America is that if I want to, I can go without a passport to Hawaii. I can go to California. I can go to Florida. There's all kinds of crazy states I can go to.
Yeah, that's a fair point. The Florida equivalents in Canada are still pretty cold. So,
yeah. But I do want to go to Canada. That's on my bucket list, and I want to do the Film Junk tour. So hopefully that'll happen one day.
Yes, that would be a big one. But I was going to ask you to continue the peek behind the curtain. What are the restaurants that you dash for the most? What's the like hot stuff right now in Texas that people are buying?
That's a question I get asked a lot. I never have a good answer for it. I don't know why. You always get like Taco Bell, like whatever, McDonald's, Starbucks, but I'm gonna try to do this quickly so I don't there's not too much dead air. But like I'm just gonna look up like what my last orders were. I skip the dishes, which is the Canadian. Is skip the dishes in the States? I don't think it is. No, it's not. And whenever I hear Frank talk about that, I'm like, that's so Canadian.
Yeah. But when I skip the dishes, which I did today, I literally just order from 7-Eleven because it's the cheapest way to get the most food. So that's where I order from the most by far.
Yeah. When I look at my phone, I forgot it doesn't even show me the names of the restaurants. It just shows me like the numbers of what I made. But I don't know. There's always like Mexican restaurants I pick up from, like pizza, like it could be anything. But I feel like there's not like that many other than fast food that are like common like every day.
Anytime I'm somewhere I'm limited in my town to like maybe 20 or 30 restaurants that like use skip the dishes. But if I'm like in Calgary, like downtown Calgary or near it, then it's like sky's the limit for what I can order. So then I get really weird and order from like the weird places and get like head cheese sandwiches and like all this like crazy stuff, because it's like, why not? Like you might as well get as weird as possible. I have to imagine there's like good barbecue that you dash for it.
I'm not crazy about barbecue. I mean, I like barbecue, but I'm definitely not like I love this. But like my rule of thumb with ordering like DoorDash or anything like that for me is that like I want to order a lot of food if I'm gonna do that because you pay so much on like delivery
Yes.
fees. Like you might as well be getting like a solid amount of food.
Yeah.
Like I can't stand, not that I can't stand it. Like they can do whatever they want, but like when I like today I delivered to a doctor's office, like the third floor on the ICU in like an emergency room. I have to go like navigate this maze of a hospital just to bring somebody one single taco. And
What's the
yeah,
tip on one taco?
like $2. I shouldn't even have taken it. I just took it because I was working towards like a bonus.
Okay.
But yeah, that was awful.
So do you think Jay is like ordering from Uber Eats or whatever he was using? Do you think he's doing that a lot?
I think, well, I don't know about a lot, but I remember him talking about at least another time. He talked about how one of his orders got delivered to the wrong house.
Wasn't that a Swiss Chalet order too?
I think it was.
Pretty sure.
So he loves Swiss Chalet.
Clearly. Oh man. Well, I hope that one day you and Jay can sit down at a Swiss Chalet together and feast.
Eat some rotisserie chicken. That's something I don't even understand. Like, why would a restaurant serve rotisserie chicken? Like, that's something I associate with like buying it at Walmart and like eating it at home.
Yeah, it is. Like they do like ribs and they do rotisserie chicken. And I mentioned it on the Discord that I had a friend and they had like because it's like a chain when you like try to order from them, you're like contacting like a single location in Canada that fulfills the order. So you're not actually talking directly with the restaurant. And he tried to order for pickup chicken noodle soup from Swiss Chalet when his kids were sick. And because it wasn't over the limit for the order, they wouldn't put the order through, despite the fact that he was picking it up. So it shouldn't matter how much it costs. And so as a result, like Swiss Chalet has been on the banned list for a long time because they're just terrible corporate drones over at Swiss
Terrible,
Chalet.
despicable little sacks.
Exactly. But
Me and my friend have a similar list. So we have it's called the X list.
Okay. Any
And that's-
notable places on it?
Well, we recently put Pizza Hut on the X list because I feel like it's a waste of money. Like,
Dang.
it's not like I kind of like Pizza Hut in like kind of like a trashy way, the same way I like Taco Bell. But it's ridiculously expensive for what you're getting. Like for that money, I might as well buy a real pizza.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's how I feel about
do you
that.
not have the like $5 five for five whatever deals?
Only at Little Caesars. I don't know if that's something you'll have around there.
Yeah, we have Little
But-
Caesars, but not. It's expensive. Like other than buying the like hot and readies, you're gonna still end up spending as much as if I went to like a mom and pop place, which is I feel like what you should do if you're ordering pizza.
The hot and readies are the only ones that are like $5. Like that's the only thing I would get from Little Caesars.
Okay.
Yeah, but I actually like because me and my friend we got like a big box. That was literally what it's called, the big box, and it's like 2 pizzas, and they're not that big. Like it's probably like 8 pieces each, but they're like little squares, and there's like wings in there, and there's some breadsticks. But that was $50.
Holy smokes!
And like I
American.
could have bought like a good pizza for like 25 or maybe 30, but like it was just so not worth it at all.
That's crazy, man. That is
Yeah.
that is big. Because I'm sure there are amazing mom and pop pizza places in Texas.
Yeah, for sure. And there's one place I really like by my apartment, and I'm about to leave my apartment, so I probably won't get to eat at this place that much more. But there's a good place called Midnight Slice that I really like, and there's a place I love that I probably will still get pizza from. I don't get it from that often because it's not like cheap, but it's still cheaper than $50. But it's called Stefano's. I used to work there. I worked there for about like 5 years, and I love to get a 4-cheese pizza, and with Canadian bacon, and just drown it in ranch. I love
Sounds
to do that.
amazing. This that Midnight Slice place sounds pretty dangerous. Sounds mysterious. What type of
Yeah.
pies you get there?
I got like a meat lover's pizza, and it was good. Like I really like the quality of the dough. It feels very authentic and like homemade, but like in a good way, like not like in an amateur way. Um, and yeah, I like pizza like that. I don't like eating something like Pizza Hut where I literally feel like I'm eating the pizza version of Taco Bell and paying like ridiculous prices.
Yeah. Yeah, food prices are getting out of control, and definitely the last time I was in Montana, I was usually used to getting cheaper groceries, and they were about on par despite the exchange rate favoring your dollar. And
Yeah.
so then I'm like, man, these people are paying a lot for groceries.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everything's going up.
We,
But
do, we
should
don't
go-
all we
go
don't
ahead.
all have Swiss chalet money like Jay. So
Yeah, he's rolling in that cursed films dough, so he can get cranberry sauce whenever he wants. But yeah, I think that takes us to our number 3, which is they talked about A Christmas Story Christmas, and I thought this was specifically interesting because, well, one, it was interesting for them to talk about the movie, even though I don't think it looks very good at all, but it's interesting to hear their thoughts. But also, Frank he watched the movie on his phone.
yeah, I got a
Which I
clip
thought-
here. Let's
let's
take a
hear it.
listen to this.
Do we want to start with A Christmas Story Christmas?
I mean, I don't know. Frank, how far did you get in this thing?
About half an hour, 40 minutes.
What happened?
I ran out of time because of my nap.
Like you were watching it before the show?
Kind of, yeah. Not right before, but
Well, what does that mean?
at some point,
How
I was
did
like,
you run out of time? What?
at some point, I had to concede I was not going to finish it, and I said,
Because you
I'll
had to
just-
nap?
Look, I tried. I'm sorry.
Why were you watching it on your phone?
It was, the classic productivity play. I wanted to
Oh,
go
what
poo,
were you doing at the same
go
time?
poo, and watch the movie.
You weren't watching it in the bathroom
100% I was.
for a half an hour to 45 minutes?
No, there was a couple trips, and then I watched a bit of it while I was making some food. Either way, like I did watch 8-Bit Christmas on entirely. I want to make sure people don't think of
That, yeah, I mean, you stay true to that gimmick, so it's possible.
Sean just ended it with his dry humor there perfectly. So I guess the question is that you were going to ask, should Frankie be watching these movies on his phone?
Right. How do you feel about it?
I mean, soldiers went to Europe and died for the right for Frankie to watch Christmas Story Christmas on his phone on the toilet. So I'm not going to speak ill of people using their right for freedom to do that. It's been a long time since I watched a movie on a phone. Let me
But you
just
have
put
done
it that
it.
way. I have done it. I don't even own a phone where I could do it on it now. So,
Right.
but
What's the
I-
last movie, if you can remember, that you watched on your phone?
Oh man, I honestly, let me check my letterbox to see if I have like phone listed on it. But unfortunately, off the top of my head, I don't have anything. What are your thoughts on watching on the phone?
I don't have many watches. Like I always looked at it as like one of the worst things you could do. But honestly, I've come around to it more now, which is like terrible to say. But it just like with the Discord, like there's a lot of live streams going on, and for a while I didn't have any way I could watch these live streams other than my phone because I couldn't put the live streams up on my TV. So I was just watching it on my phone. I rewatched Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 on my phone. I rewatched Rushmore on my phone. I rewatched something else, The Astrologer, and all that's fine. I think it's fine if you're rewatching something, especially in that setting. But also, I recently, and we talked about this last week, but I watched Spirited on my laptop and that wasn't even because of Discord or anything. I just did it, and yeah, and that was because I thought it was gonna be awful, but I kind of liked it. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, like being somebody that has access to being able to watch on a tiny screen up into like a 50-foot wide by 40-foot tall screen. Like the bigger the better. It is literally night and day to watch something on a small screen versus watch something properly projected on a huge screen. Like it is a completely different experience. That being said, the reality is most people are consuming on tiny screens, right?
Yeah.
And I think A Christmas Story Christmas, having not watched it, probably does not deserve the silver
the key
screen
thing.
treatment.
Yeah. Although it did have a premiere with Peter Billingsley in attendance at the Alamo Drafthouse in Houston. So I could have went to that, but I didn't.
That wasn't a priority to see Peter Billingsley in person.
Well, I mean, I didn't even know about it until after it happened, but I can say, like, if I would have known it about ahead of time, I wouldn't have gone. So
You would have got so lost in his baby blue eyes. He would have hypnotized you and made you his slave.
for sure. The only other movie I can think of that I watched on my phone is I'm watching Zombieland on the way to New York on a plane. When I was on like in 2010 when I went on a high school trip. But yeah.
Were you able to read the rules on the screen on such a small, tiny screen?
I think I was. I actually just I did a first time watch only recently on my phone, and I'm remembering this just now. But I was on the way back from San Francisco, and I downloaded a movie onto my phone to watch on the plane because I was like, this will help burn the time like more quickly. And so I watched Hands on a Hard Body for the first time on my phone.
Oh, nice.
And like, it's a good movie, but like for some reason, it's very lo-fi. I just feel like I could get away with that. I don't know why.
So it seems like the official stance of Mouthbreathers Radio is that it's okay for Frank to have watched this on his phone.
Yeah, I think it is okay. I just thought it might be juicy to just discuss it, but ultimately, especially since what he watched is Christmas Story Christmas, and in the past he's watched 8-bit Christmas or whatever it was. He's definitely not watching high quality content on there, so I understand he's just trying to crush stuff for the show, so it makes sense.
I would say I have almost more of a problem with watching something new in divided chunks rather than dedicating time to watch it. So I don't do that. I will not watch anything new unless I can watch it fully in one sitting. I don't know what your stance is on that.
I kind of I used to feel that way, but I'll fall asleep during a movie, like sometimes, and I'm like, I'll come back to this tomorrow. I don't do that all the time, but if it happens, I do it. So, I mean, I've been trying to be more lax about it, like recently. Like I like to watch things, and whenever I can, I watch things in one sitting. It's just that if it becomes like an issue, like if I think like I want to watch this, I have the urge to watch this in multiple sittings, like I'll give in usually.
I just think if you don't got the time, there are plenty of YouTube videos you can be watching rather than watching real cinema. You know what I mean? And so it's like we got to give
not that I don't
cinema
have
the time.
It's that like I'm like getting tired or like I pass out drunk on my couch or something like that.
So you don't feel the need necessarily to like restart the movie?
If I remember enough of it, and which usually I do, then it depends on the situation. Like, and also like what kind of movie I'm watching. Like if I'm like watching like Martin Scorsese's new movie, like I'm obviously not gonna watch that in multiple chunks. But yeah. Although I think Sean did watch Last Temptation of Christ in multiple chunks.
Let me give you a scenario here. Tell me if this makes you sick or not. So like a 17-year-old cinephile watches the David Lean classic Lawrence of Arabia in 10 sittings on their cell
10
phone.
10 sittings is gross. Well, on the cell phone too. It's the fact that it's Lawrence of Arabia. Like if it was like anything else, or not anything else, but something like A Christmas Story Christmas, like I care less if they watched it in 10 sittings, but when you're watching a Lawrence of Arabia, I can maybe see, well, first of all, you don't watch on your phone. But second of all, if you're watching on a TV, I could see maybe breaking into 2 chunks, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, the biggest problem that we're seeing now is like literally people would look at something like Lawrence of Arabia as just like content, as the same way they look at like a 20-minute toy unboxing YouTube video. You know what I mean?
That's ridiculous. I don't even know how you can just not see the
but I
difference
think that
plain as day.
that's like the common like thing now. I think that is
I know
how
what you
people look at it. And so but then we have people like James Cameron who are like, well, because everybody marathons 6 hours of TV, I can make Avatar 2 3 hours and 10 minutes long, and that is stupid.
I
And
think
so
it depends on how close. Like if you watch Avatar 2 in 3 chunks, like 3-hour-long chunks, and you do it over the course of like 5 days, then like I think that's dumb. But like if you're watching it in 3 chunks over the course, like in a small span of time, like say it takes you 12 hours rather than 3 hours, and you take breaks in between, I don't think it's that bad.
I think go on opening night to Avatar 2, secretly film the movie, then break it up into TikTok videos, and you watch it over 2 weeks. Now that is how it should be consumed.
That's pretty much how Reed Farrington watches stuff. He'll watch it in like 10-minute chunks on TV.
Insanity. It is like, yeah, there is. It is an interesting argument that's not made, that we need to also consume art in the way that it was intended to be consumed. So Lawrence of Arabia was intended to be consumed in a single sitting, despite the fact that it's 3 hours and 42 minutes long. It's rewarding to do it. It is worth doing to do it. But
it'd be a lot easier if I was in a theater. If I was in a theater, I'd have no problem doing that. I almost feel like the theater makes it easier. Like, because I'm going here to do this thing. I'm going to watch the movie. If I'm at my house, I might get distracted.
So that brings up an interesting thing, because Jimmy C brought it up, that he said that we have to like destigmatize going to the bathroom during the movie. So he's like, if you think Avatar 2 is too long and you got to hit the washroom, just get up and go to the washroom. And we know that Frankie will leave a movie because he's gorfing corn so hard that he's gonna refill his. Because I can honestly say, the last movie that I had to leave was Michael Clayton, and I didn't come back, and I didn't log it. And like I literally I realized I screwed up on times and I had to be somewhere, so I walked out, checked my phone, and I didn't come back in. I actually left.
So are you saying that you don't even go to the bathroom during a movie?
No, I would. I will never. I have never done it ever.
That's hardcore. How do you like?
It's hardcore in that I have a phobia of public washrooms, so I don't even use a public washroom ever anyway. So I'm never gonna leave. I literally am like, that's just military bladder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a phobia of public restrooms or washrooms, as the Canadians say. But I'll go to the bathroom. Like I don't like it. Like I had the same thought as like, I don't want to miss the movie. I even get like anxiety, like thinking like, what's the best part? Like I don't want to like, I'm waiting for the perfect moment to go to the bathroom. But yeah, I have a pretty small bladder, so it happens.
Because when I saw it, and I won't get into any spoilers, but there are spoilers in it. When we saw Devotion, it was me, my dad, and one other person in the theater. And this other person got up like 3 or 4 times. I think they refilled their corn, and then I think they must have hit the washroom a couple times during the movie. And they literally missed a huge spoiler moment in the film. So I'm like, What was their experience coming back and just being like, okay, I guess that happened, or having to assume what happened? Like, I do not get that. Like, once you're in your seat, you stay in your seat, in my opinion, until the movie is done.
I have sympathy for going to the bathroom, but I don't have sympathy for getting corn. Like, there's no reason. You're just doing that because you're obsessed with popcorn. Like, this is something that annoyed me when I worked at a movie theater. I felt like people were coming there just to eat popcorn. Like, they just wanted a seat to sit in and eat popcorn. Because they come and get like 3 refills. And they're just obsessed with popcorn. It's probably the only reason they're coming, because they're like, they don't care about the movies. They're nostalgic about popcorn. And so that's something that I think is ridiculous. But
Are you serious
yeah.
that you like refilled somebody? Like, how is that even possible?
Probably even more than 3 times, probably 4 or 5.
Wow. That's a lot of
Yeah.
corn. That's a lot of sodium being consumed.
Well, I'm assuming it was probably like a family, like it's like the dad coming to refill for his whole family. But
Okay.
yeah,
Still.
yeah.
Huh. So you're pro getting up and going the using the restrooms, the facilities if necessary during a movie. I say just sit and suffer if need
I
be.
mean, if
for
you
the
can do
art.
that, then that's great. But like, if you can't handle it, then I say go for it. Go to the bathroom.
Okay. So in Avatar 2, will you take a bathroom break during the 3 hour and 10-minute runtime?
I mean, I always try not to. Like, I'm definitely not planning on it. It's just that like, I'm not great at like it gets like too uncomfortable for me if I really have to go, so I just go. But yeah, like with The Irishman, like I sat through all of that. I mean, I have sat through like really long movies, but sometimes I just have to go, and I'm not like, I don't like sitting there and squirming.
I mean, speaking of long run times, let's jump to number 2 here, which is Terrifier 2 talk. And Frankie was pushing back against Jay, saying that the film is too long. We got a clip here.
I don't disagree that the movie's too long, but I hope you approach every long movie with the same vigor about what can be cut and.
I said right before I started the conversation that it is very easy to throw around, and I think it's a lot harder to cut material from some films than you might think it is. Also,
I don't want to start a
we've
fight
had this
here,
conversation
but
before.
maybe
There's a
Mandy
pacing.
could be trimmed a bit.
It didn't feel long to me. I mean, it comes down to pacing as well. How much time do we need to spend setting up certain characters, setting up certain plot narratives, or within scenes? Like overall, you talk about pacing in video games, you must be able to get through your thick skull that in this movie, the pacing is really weird. Like you have sequences of extreme gore, and then between that are just extended scenes of practically nothing.
Drew, which side of the argument do you land on this?
I land on
Classic film
Jay's,
junk
and
argument.
I think Frank was probably doing this for the sake of anti-entertainment, but I didn't understand why he was pushing back at Jay so hard when it's obvious that everything Jay is saying is true. But I think he was just, trying to expose some hypocrisy and like other things that Jay might not think are too long, but like really his points weren't great. Like Terrifier 2, like I don't think you've seen it, but like it's needlessly long. It's ridiculous. It seems like it's made by somebody who like doesn't understand pacing at all. And it's just really strange. So I didn't get why he was being defensive, but other than for anti-entertainment's sake, which I think is the answer. But anyway.
So yeah, you're right. I did not watch Terrifier 2. I listened to all the review of it, and it did not make me... It sounded exactly like the movie that I thought it would be. I did watch the Terrifier 2 Kill compilation on YouTube, and that was more than enough for me. And I would probably not be able to sit through this movie with the runtime that it was.
I never even intended on seeing it. Like, it just got so much buzz, and like my friend really wanted to see it, and it was Halloween time, and it was in our theater, and like I was like, I guess I'll just go see it because he was going. I would never go see it by myself. But yeah, I enjoyed it to a certain degree, but it's like a 2.5. It's not very good at all. But there is some like, it is unique in a certain way, and I think Art's a good character. I think if you took a real director, for lack of a better term, and had him direct this material, or like had the guy who I think writes the movie too, kind of come up with a concept or like a structure or like an outline, and then got some like some solidly talented people to flesh that out, like I think it could be turned into something really cool. But as it is, it's a 2.5.
So I have a question for you, and it's been like, again, it'd be better if I actually saw Terrifier 2. And yeah, I understand my opinion doesn't matter because I haven't seen the movie. But why is this movie popular when the masterpiece that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre that came out on Netflix earlier this year, why everyone dumped on that film, despite it actually resembling a film, which Terrifier 2 to me does not, and was a beautiful 83-minute runtime with some, in my opinion, better shot and better conceived kills in it. Why did people dump on that movie so hard?
I'm not sure. I think a lot of it, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre recent one, like it had kind of the thing where people thought it was trying to ape the Halloween remakes, so the recent ones, not the remakes, but the reboots. And it was doing that to a certain degree. Like they had the
but to me, it was like making fun of that. And especially with the way that they handle the legacy character, it literally is like a middle finger to the Halloween legacy sequel stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't like, to me, and maybe I'm just being ignorant, but like I thought it was just needlessly trying to shoehorn that in just to have something that's current and popular. But also, I mean, this is just me personally. I didn't hate the movie, but I didn't love it. I thought some of the like school shooting allusions were like really weird, and I wasn't into that. But yeah, I don't know. It's also a Netflix movie, and I feel like it just got dumped, and like people didn't talk about it, like for the most part. Like it got some talk, but it was negative. With Terrifier, it built up this natural buzz that like is more akin to old school movie buzz. People went to see it in the theater, and it's like a $400,000 movie that made $10 million at the box office, which $10 million is nothing incredible, but for a $400,000 movie, it is.
Yeah, if you get a $9.5 million return on your investment, that is a huge thing. Yeah. That is like everyone there made money.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that all that buzz was just because, and this is going to sound stupid, but I think it's the truth. It's just people hearing about people passing out in the theater and people thinking like, they're just thinking about it as a haunted house. They're thinking about it, can I handle this crazy gore? And that's why it's popular.
So, Drew, this might get you in some hot water, might get me into some hot water, but do you identify yourself as like a specific type of fan? And then do you have like a kind of conceived notion of how certain fans are, like horror fans? Because I've started getting, just through my own film stuff that I do, getting to know some of the horror con people in the area, and they all kind of fit a certain type of person that is way more about the kind of world around horror movies than it is about the movies themselves. Yeah. And so I don't know do you identify with that? Because like I would say I identify as like it's so pretentious to say a cinephile first above any like what I was gonna say genre too. Specific. But and I really do not get caught up in any of the like stuff around it. So I'm not sure if you, and I don't say I look down on these people. I just consider myself different than them, even though we like a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. Like, because a lot of these, because I've noticed like a whole subculture of like people on Instagram who like they deck out like a room and like horror movie posters, and their whole aesthetic is like I wear these horror movie T-shirts, and like I'm like this horror guy or this horror girl, and like it doesn't really have to do with like the movies so much. Like it does a little bit. I'm sure they like the movies, but it's more about like I'm into gore and I'm into this like spooky vibe or whatever. But like you said, like I'm into movies, I'm into films, and I happen to like a lot of horror films.
Yeah.
But that's because I like them as movies. It's not because like I'm like a horror guy. But I like a lot of genre stuff, and like that's not what I solely identify with. I like I'll watch, The Last House on the Left, and then I'll watch John Cassavetes' Faces.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, I mean, I watch movies of all different genres, so that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think that's how, at least that's how Film Junk is, and I think that's the type of person that is attracted to Film Junk. Like, despite like Jay has like an expert knowledge of horror films. Like, I don't think you could dispute that, and like his work on cursed films like shows like he is like tangibly has something that you could be like, Jay is like a horror movie expert. That being said, I don't think he's necessarily within the like, oh, he's like a horror movie fan who like goes to the conventions. And again, I'm not like saying that's a negative. I just think it is like a totally different thing to it. And you see that with a lot of like fandom where it's like people just like being fans of stuff. Like
it's the same way people like Halloween. Like, they like scary stuff. It's not about the movies. They like scary stuff. That's all it's about.
Totally. Because like, I mean, I've had so many conversations because I program for a drive-in, and it's like, oh, you need to show a scary movie like The Conjuring, and then I have to like be like, oh yeah, maybe I'll think about, you know what I mean? And like, it's not, and these are like people, like you said, that are like wearing like horror movie, like wearing like a Camp Crystal Lake counselor shirt or something. And it's like, they really have no knowledge of the filmmaking or any of that. It's literally just like, oh yeah, Jason, scary, I associate with that type of stuff.
Maybe I'm getting too personal here. I could get in hot water, like you said. But like whenever I go on Tinder, there's almost everybody on there claims to like horror movies. Like, they're like, I love scary movies, but like they're not film fans. Like, it's not like it's just like a thing people say. But it's like, it's weird because it's a thing like a lot of people say. But yeah.
Yeah, like, and again, I think I'm gonna sound like such a dick. I'm gonna sound like such a jerk for this, but it's like, I remember like when my friends were like dating people and they were trying to like sell them to me as like, well, we should hang out together with this person. They'd always be like, oh yeah, they like watching like crazy movies, you know what I mean? And then it's like, no, they don't. Like, it's like,
oh, you like crazy movies? Let's watch Todd Solondz.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and again, like, it's so like pretentious and like and like, I always would just be like grin and nod when they're like, oh, I like watched this, like whatever, and then you like get to know them and you're like, this person does not like, and the person I'm thinking specifically, we had watched Dial Code Santa Claus at their house when they weren't there. They came home, and the husband was like, oh, I got to show you like the trailer for this movie that we watched. And she like literally watched it for like 5 seconds and then just walked away. It was like not even like, there was not even like a moment where it was like, and it's just interesting again how people like perceive stuff. And it's, again, I'm not like judging anybody, but there is just like different levels to things.
Well, I understand like it's not everybody's priority, and that's not like, everybody can have their own different interests, and that's totally fine. It's just like, it is interesting when you look at people claiming to like movies on a certain level, but they like don't really. But like, it's weird because I feel like everybody likes movies to some degree. Like, movies are pretty like omnipresent culturally. But then I was thinking, like, is that starting to go away? Is it starting to be like where everybody doesn't like movies anymore? And I feel like that is starting to happen. Like kids are starting to be like, I don't want to watch a movie. I want to watch a TikTok or whatever. Not to sound like cheesy, but that's basically the truth. So yeah, that's interesting. But
yeah, there's certainly a shift in the attention spans of people, which is what they've been saying for a long time. When TV came out, it was like people are consuming smaller and smaller. It's like, are we going to get to a point where people consume 1 second of content and then like move on? It's certainly a possibility. And I mean, in the end, I'm sure that there are someone that's like, oh, FilmApe, you're a real cinephile. Like, how much slow cinema are you watching? Or like, and like, or like, there are times where I click on someone's like best of the year, and I'm like, I don't even know any of these movies. You know what I mean? And it's because they like,
question. Like,
they
what's
hit
your
like
threshold? Like, how far can you go?
I don't have a threshold. I'm willing to try anything, but I like
mean, like,
what I
I'm not
like.
in terms of being offended, but like until you're like bored, basically.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I like certain. I can sit through anything. Like, I've sat through like Leviathan. I really liked Leviathan,
Like,
and
I'm not into a lot of slow cinema, but I love Leviathan.
yeah. So like there is stuff like that, but it's like when I sit through something that's like 6 hours long, that's like watching like paint dry or something, and then be like, this. Oh, here is like the art in it. I don't
But I'm
think
guessing
so.
you wouldn't watch Santi Tonga or whatever it is, Bellatar.
Yeah, well, I don't like Bellatar, so yeah, I probably would not. I would watch it. I just don't think I would like it.
Like, there's a movie called News from Home, and I kind of feel bad for this, but my friend Austin recommended it to me, and it's not that long of a movie. Like, it's like an hour and a half, but for some reason I was like, I'm sorry, but like I can't watch this.
What was it about?
It's a woman like wandering around the subways in New York, and the whole time she's narrating like letters from her mother, and that's the narration is these letters from her mother.
Okay.
But the whole movie, visually, is just her wandering around the subways. But like I wasn't feeling it at all, and like it's weird how like some slow cinema like that I can't get into, but then like I love Leviathan, and like I don't even know why I like it. I just do.
I think there has to be intent. I've talked about it before. Intent is like such a huge thing for me. So if like Manakamana is awesome as well, where it's just that single shot, the duration of the film that's in the camera going up and down the gondola or whatever that is, and that is so interesting. And there is so much presented there, and it's like, okay, the artist is presenting you an image, and there are human beings in the image, and then I have to choose what I take away from it. Stuff like that is interesting, but if it was like 8 hours long, would I think it was still interesting after hour 4? I don't know.
Well, it becomes like an endurance test, and like it seems like almost like horror movies where it's like, is this a movie or are you just interested in like a haunted house? You just want like a weird experience.
Totally.
And so that's interesting, but it's weird because like I'm not saying I don't like slow cinema. Like I haven't watched like a lot of it, so I need to watch more. But like I love The Brown Bunny. It's one of my favorite movies, and I think that could definitely be considered slow cinema. It's just that like I like when there's a kernel of a story and like not a plot. There's not really a plot at all. It's just like a story or an idea. Like The Brown Bunny, it's the idea, and not to spoil anything, but like it's him trying to get over a relationship. There's an idea, there's a kernel of a story in there, and I like there to at least be that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever like feel like, so if you're like talking with someone who's like a diehard like festival person, and they're like, oh, I like this, I like all this stuff, and it's like kind of alienating, do you feel like self-conscious, like, oh, I need to like be watching more art house, I need to be watching more foreign, I need to transcend and like evolve as a cinema fan? Like, what are your kind of inner thoughts on that?
It's gotten like worse, or not worse, but it's gotten more like that lately, or the last like 4 or 5 years. Because I remember when I first met my friend Austin, who, I doubt he's listening, but a shout out to you if you are. Like I remember I said to him, and this is like embarrassing, I was like, I haven't seen every movie of all time, obviously, but I was like, I think I've at least heard of every single movie ever made, which is like a stupid thing to say. I have not heard of every single movie ever made. And then he was like, have you seen Come and See? And I was like, I don't know what that is. And this is an amazing movie that I hadn't heard of. So, like, I feel like he like exposed me to a lot of like Tarkovsky, and like I don't love Tarkovsky. I don't dislike him. I mean, I respect his Stalker a lot more than I actually enjoy it, but I think there's a lot of really fascinating things about it. He showed me stuff like that. And then Come and See, I wouldn't have watched without him bringing it up. But yeah, and there's a lot of the stuff that you'll find on the Criterion channel. Like, not even on the surface, but if you dig deeper in there, like that's the stuff I need to be watching more. And even deeper than that, like on other services, or not even on other services, but just like things that are just out there. Like, it's not just limited to Criterion. But yeah, being a film lover is an endless journey, and like it's never gonna be like over. Like I can always like I need to watch more 40s movies. Like I need to watch more like just classic Hollywood. I've seen I've seen stuff, but like I definitely don't like match up to like a lot of people who have seen tons of that stuff. And my friend Scott, who I actually did, we had a thing called 50s from the 50s that we watched like 50s movies together. And we reviewed a couple on this channel, if you go way back in the channel. But yeah, so watching movies with him exposed me more to like, and I had known about these movies, but I just never sat down and watched them. But doing that, I got to see like Sweet Smell of Success, you know, A Place in the Sun, which is like one of my favorite movies, Sunset Boulevard, which is just like a classic that everyone should see, but like I hadn't seen it yet. So I need to do a lot more stuff like that. There's always like holes you need to fill or blind spots you need to fill, but you know, it's a never ending journey.
And that is where I think fandom's biggest failure is just, I think it just shoehorns your interest into too small of a box, because the coolest people that I want to hang around with and the person that I want to be is like interested in the stuff. You know what I mean? And so, yes, I'm not going to know everything, but if I talk to someone and they're like, oh, you should check this out, this would be cool, you would like this, I want to just at least be like checked in enough to be like, yeah, I'll check it out and I'll give it a fair shake. You know what I mean? Rather than being like, no, I only watch gore films, or I only watch slow cinema. You know what I mean? Or I only do this or that, or I only watch festival films. And I think I certainly get into that more with music, because I'm like, oh, if this has like a million listens, I'm not going to like it. You know what I mean? Like, I certainly get way more pretentious with music, but yeah, like I think anything that's like a ceiling, I don't want to have any expectations for it. I watch film because I enjoy it, period. There's nothing else. And particularly in the last few years, I am only seeking out like entertainment. I have not been watching as much like quote unquote art house stuff, just because I want to escape more than like anything else. And I don't necessarily always want to be like thinking about stuff. I want to be laughing, or I want to be scared, or like want to be something like that. And so that is who I am right now. I think sometimes I'm like, I need to push myself. I used to spend way more time digging into directors and doing director filmographies and all that. And that's been years and years since I challenged myself like that. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be like hard on myself for why am I not watching this or that, because I'm never going to watch everything.
Yeah. And you'll probably come back to like watching, like diving deeper into stuff again. Like I've been going through a lot of the same thing. Like I've been like rewatching, like this is the first year, if I look at my Letterboxd stats, or I've rewatched more things than I first time watched. And I kind of felt gross for that, but like I just like, I go back to a lot of things I like want to watch over and over again. Or not over and over again, but like I've watched multiple times. Or like I'm like, I want to rewatch this thing I haven't seen in 10 years. And like I could endlessly watch things I've already seen before. But like, yeah, I think this year I got a little bit too caught up in that. Like I was like, I want to watch this movie I haven't seen since 2007. I want to watch this and that. But yeah, I definitely, because I make like a list of the top 50 best movies I've seen for the first time. And right now I only have 43, and the year is almost over. So that's a problem.
Yeah, you can easily get 7 more movies on there. And I mean, my advice is just don't be like hard on yourself about it, because really the coolest people are the ones that follow their whatever vibe they're in. You know what I mean? And it's literally just like, it's a better way to live your life to just be like, this is where I'm naturally going, so I might as well embrace it, rather than like completely trying to swim against the current or fight against things. And I figure this is, because I'm giving you some life advice here, we might as well jump into Stutz talk here. They talked about Stutz, which is the Jonah Hill documentary about his therapist. And Drew, I know you gave it a 5-banger, so I'll let you
I gave it a
kind of go.
4.5.
Oh, sorry, a 4.5 banger. So let's jump into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always interesting. This only happens, like, I'm thinking about the trajectory of the episodes we've done so far. I think there's only been like 3 or 4 movies that we've both seen that are like new, like that just came out and we both watched them. So I always enjoy the discussions we have where it's about something that just came out and we can like kind of dive in depth about it a little bit. But it was cool because like I was excited, like Frank watched it and Sean watched it, and I think Frank kind of mirrored some of the stuff that I heard you say, like in your Letterboxd review. I think Sean was kind of more where I'm at, but yeah, I really loved it. It was more like I think what Frank was saying. He wasn't as much into the personal stuff, but like I like the personal stuff. Specifically with Stutz, like I liked all the stuff about his personal life, and I'll admit, like I kind of like judged Jonah Hill in a certain way. Like I'm kind of thinking like this guy's kind of like fake and he's kind of like douchey, but like but when he talks about like his body image issues and like all that stuff, like I can't help but like feel for him, and then when he starts opening up about his brother and like I really like that stuff. So I like the personal stuff, and I really like the tools themselves. And like I like the idea that if somebody hasn't been to therapy but they're considering it but they're nervous about it or something, they can watch this movie and you have a pretty good idea what therapy is like. I mean, it's obviously an artistic interpretation, but in terms of him sitting here and talking to you about somebody's life and giving you these tools, that's basically what you're gonna get. Not everybody's as good as him. He's one of the best therapists ever, but that gives you an idea at least. I think that's cool.
I mean, the biggest takeaway that I had was, number one, anything that makes you love yourself and love other people more is a good thing. And so Stutz is really presenting a lot of that in his therapy, but he also seems to genuinely care about helping people. And when they get into that, and that was my favorite part, when he starts talking about, I wanted to engage and take something on and literally have someone come in and immediately be able to say, and he does, and he identifies exactly what most people, including myself, problems are from the start in regards to why you might be feeling a certain way, and he gives you tools right away to work on that. And he said it's not going to like solve all your problems, but it's going to give you hope. And I think that was a little different than what I had seen or experienced through therapy. So it's cool to have a guy talk about that. And that was like kind of radical, it seemed, because he said there were people like, no, you cannot not do that. We don't want you doing that. And he chose to do it anyway. And I think clearly with Jonah Hill, it's made a huge impression. And I saw the documentary as much of a gift to Stutz, who might maybe in the years to come not able to do what he's doing now. His big thing was that he wanted to take care of as many people as possible and get his ideas out there, and this documentary really does that. So it's like a nice gift from Jonah Hill. The biggest problems that I had, and what Frank, like, I really liked the opening, but then it kind of gets into like a little more meta elements and all that, and it lost me.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know how to feel about the green screen thing. Like, what I should understand, like the setting this stuff up, and like you're in an office, and then being like even though we took all this effort to like make this look authentic and real, we're just gonna strip all that down and like just sit in a green screen room for the rest of the movie. And I understand his little like idea of like I don't want to lie, so like I don't want to lie to the audience or whatever. But I thought that was kind of lame at the beginning, but like the more it went on, I kind of got used to it, and I started thinking some of the stuff, like when stuff is like laying on the bed and like it becomes like waves or whatever. I kind of like that. Not that it's like great or like radical or anything. It's like basic, but it kind of reminded me of like a Robert Altman like interpretation of like a play or something. Like if you watch like Secret Honor or like just something like more experimental. And this is like an idea I've had. Like I like the idea of plays can be more experimental because you're not going into it looking for something that's real. You're not thinking like, I want this play to be like real life. Why isn't this realistic? So you can like have like all these different tricks and like weird things they do. So I kind of appreciated that he was kind of messing with the form. But yeah, at first I thought it was kind of pretentious, but as it went on, I kind of got used to it.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers, I guess, if you're planning on watching Stutz, but there is like a big reveal, and it goes into like how long they've been working on the documentary and all this stuff. That being said, it's like in the effort to try to be transparent, felt almost as put on as what they were trying to put on. So I don't know if it was necessarily successful there. And my preference with this is always to just be as raw and real. Like Jonah Hill could have gone in there with a cell phone and recorded his therapy sessions, and I probably would have loved it. You know what I mean? Like if it was that raw. But this is like way more, it turns out, way more like manipulated and controlled than what we thought, and they try to get into it a bit, but at the end of the day, what I care most about is what's Stutz' philosophy and how can it apply to an individual. So some of that stuff just kind of got in the way of what I really cared about.
Yeah, I can see that, but yeah, I think like Jonah Hill can come off fake or like he's trying too hard or like whatever. But I think at the core of it, he captured a really interesting character and somebody that's like 100% authentic and doesn't have a fake bone in his body. But I mean, I can't 100% say that, but he's just like he's a pretty authentic seeming guy. So I think he captured a great character, and that's what like great documentaries do, in my opinion. So yeah, I thought it was really good.
Let's try to do a quick exercise here, and I'm just springing this on to you, but. So you're a therapist, and the Film Junk guys are coming in to talk about they've been hung up on how Frank pronounces a word, and they're not this. It's gotten so extreme that they need therapy to get over this. So, and we have, for whatever reason, Reed drove them, so he's in there too. So what kind of therapy advice do you have for the Film Junk guys in regards to getting over some of their squabbles?
I don't know how I would exactly say in this like fictional situation where it's like a word, like Frank mispronounced Krampus or whatever, and this is like life changing. But
it's court ordered therapy because of how aggressively they're infighting.
Because in that case, I would say they all need, like, if this was a real thing, I mean, obviously it's a joke, but if it was real, it'd be like, you all need individual therapy. For like, why is this even happening? Yeah, but I was listening to like a lot of like Cantankerous episodes, and like a lot of those feel like weird like therapy sessions. And it's interesting how, like, I feel like Jay, he psychoanalyzes a lot of people. Like, he psychoanalyzes Frank. And like in Cantankerous, he psychoanalyzes Reed. But I don't know. There's an interesting dynamic. Like with Film Junk, they dive deep. I mean, the phrase used to be "Film Junk is where shit gets real." So,
would you encourage Sean to moderate more and not allow Jay to pick fights with Frank? And then would you possibly dive into Frank's split personalities that arise? Would you try to address that?
That could be addressed. And I think a moderator is a good approach. But one thing, and not to make this too serious, but I think a good thing to think about in therapy in general is like try to think outside of yourself. And I'm just talking like in general about like anybody, but like how are you affecting the other person? Like, and I think like this could go with anybody. Like how, like just try to step outside of yourself and try to think like imagine you talking to a person. If this is if you're having like an encounter that's not so great for whatever reason, but try to like look at it as like a third party and like imagine you saying these things or whatever it may be, and then try to break down like whether it's good or bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like really good advice. And I think it would be interesting to sit down with each of the Film Junk guys and have them listen to some of their like crazier debates and then see what their thoughts would be on that, and see if that would change some of their combativeness.
Yeah, and I'm not blasting them for anything specific, but this is just like kind of a therapy thought I just had in general. But like, because I know this was like something that kind of blew my mind when I was watching Finding Francis, the Nathan For You like season finale. That was like a feature length thing, and that guy in it, he's like obsessed with this woman that like left him like when he was like 25 years old. Now he's like 65, and he's still obsessed with her. And then he does like they do this. Nathan like sets up this like weird play where like he has to rehearse, and this kind of leads into the rehearsal in a weird way, the new show. But he has to rehearse over and over again him meeting her for the first time, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to meet her and be like, why did you leave me? And like all this stuff, and just like lay all the shit on her when she's like a grown woman, a 65-year-old woman who has a family. But when they're rehearsing it over and over again, these crazy things happen. And like he'll like be coming in the door, they'll have like a fake husband. He's like, I'm here to like take your wife, or like ridiculous stuff like that. And like, but eventually it breaks down to like him sitting on the couch with her, and he's like I'm sorry, like I'm the one who was like I wasn't being honest with you, and like I was doing this and that, and like he's starting to realize for the first time like why this happened, or that he was a part of it. Because for like 50 years he's been in a world of delusion where he thinks that everything is like he's the victim and he was never to blame for anything. But all the stuff I'm ranting about isn't about anything specific. I'm just like thinking about therapy thoughts in general and just like psychoanalysis. But
And I think that's what happens when you watch something like Stutz, and then you listen to a discussion about it like on Film Junk. And anytime I watch like any like therapy related anything or hear about it, it's always kind of like triggers thoughts in regards to, okay, what's healthy thinking, what's unhealthy thinking, and all that. And at the end of the day, I mean, with Stutz, it sits as like a monument and a tangible thing in regards to his way of using therapy to help people. So I think it's worth checking out for anybody who is interested. You're not really going to get that much of a glimpse into Jonah Hill's life too much, other than him being kind of like the proxy for the therapy. But I think inevitably, as soon as you start, like we just experienced, as soon as you start going into thoughts about this, it kind of reflects the way that we think about it, and then as well as how we interact with other people.
yeah, and when I'm talking about all these ideas, I'm not trying to act like I have all the answers, because my life is a wreck. I'm being over melodramatic, but I'm just saying like I don't have all this stuff. Like I'm trying to figure all this stuff out myself. So I don't want to act like, I don't want to come off like pretentious or anything, but it's just like I'm starting to break down all these ideas and start to try to figure things out. And that's one thing I was excited about, or not excited, but like interested in with Stutz, is like it'll be cool to have this movie because I can come back to it and like I can try to like save these tools and try to do some of these things he's talking about. So yeah, I thought that was cool.
I think I almost get that experience when I listen to Film Junk sometimes as well. And Film Junk has certainly shaped how I interact with other people, how I explain things, how I deal with conflict. Like there's actually so much stuff there that is mostly inadvertently, because it's just such a huge part of my life and what I consume, that I end up emulating a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting that our environment and what we consume then really does have an effect. And I guarantee none of the Film Junk guys are thinking, oh, FilmApe is going to use that reasoning in like an argument with somebody someday. But it's like, it certainly has happened.
Yeah. I mean, I hope Jay isn't listening, because I wouldn't want him to think I have any negativity towards him, because I don't. I think he's the best. But the one thing I will say in terms of what you're talking about with like acting, like sort of taking ways they behave and using that, like I feel like I've done that to a negative degree sometimes. Like the way like Jay picks at Frank and like him like kind of like just like laughing people off or like saying these like really sarcastic things. Like I've started to do that, and not even like I've been listening to the show since I was young, like 13. So it's stuff that kind of got ingrained at a formidable time, and so I feel like I've kind of done that a little bit too much. But I don't know. It's just a thought I'm having.
No, it's good that you're aware of that, and you got to take the good and let the negative kind of fall away when you're doing that type of self-evaluation. And the influence that Film Junk has had on people will never be fully understood by them, but down to the way I think, the way I talk, has been shaped by Film Junk solely because for almost half my life I've listened to Film Junk, and again, like the way that you think about stuff is always going to be affected by what you consume. And so for better or for worse, Film Junk has kind of been there and shaping me, whether it's conscious or not.
Well, if I was gonna be exactly like any of the guys, that would be great because I think they're all awesome. And like, but like I feel like I just pick up on like some of the negative things sometimes when I don't need to. But it's like whenever like he's like tearing apart Reed or whatever it may be, like it's for the show, and maybe like my kid brain didn't understand that, but like it's for the show. It's not like whenever him and Reed hang out, it's not like he's like ripping his life to shreds. Like constantly. It's for entertainment. It's for like it's in the same way Howard Stern goes on the air and like talks to Eric the Midget and makes fun of him when he probably shouldn't do that, but
yeah, like I don't the Reed and Jay one, I actually think they're pretty close to how they actually acted from what I learned from their days at Silicon Nights and hearing them talk about that.
Well, they definitely bantered.
They apparently
I just mean like some of the stuff where he's really like breaking down his life, and he's like, why don't you like have a goal? And like he's like kind of like yelling at him almost, and he's like why are you living like this? Like it seems like he's like mad. And I'm not saying like Reed, like that whole situation seems like it could be frustrating, so I'm not saying that's bad, but it's just like it's interesting. This is why I like Film Junk. It's so much more than a movie show. Like it's not. I like it on the same level I like Howard Stern. It's I get to look into the lives of this group of friends, and I get to kind of live through that. That's a kind of weird way to put it, but you get to hear a very in-depth podcast about a group of friends, and you get to hear them interact, and it's just a really cool thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the big things that listeners sometimes would not be aware of is that the way that so you use Jay against Reed on something, the way that Jay speaks to Reed, sometimes listeners would be that harsh on Reed when they obviously never earned the right to be that way.
Well, everybody like Howard Stern fans are the same way. They act like complete assholes. I'm not saying Jay acts like an asshole. I'm just saying Howard Stern fans specifically. I think fans always emulate what they're taking from the show. So yeah,
and it's like getting caught up in like, oh, it's okay to do this when it's really not, and it's the same when people are like really like bagging on Frank for something or whatever. It's like it's not. There's a disconnect because they're not realizing that what is happening might not be exactly the way it's presented on the show in regards to someone taking offense or not. You know what I mean?
Well, I think sometimes they're trying to do it in a fun way. Like they're trying to do it like in that bantery, like inside joke kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes that's fine. But like I think it can go too far though. Like I've seen Frank on some Discord live streams, and like he seemed to get like offended at like certain like, and he was joking, he was playing it up. Like I remember, I forget who it was, but he was like, and if I'm saying somebody from the Chord's name, I don't even know if this was you, but I'm just using this as an example. But he was like, Sam, I think it might have been Sam. He's like, Sam's like looking at me like a piece of shit, and like, I know what you're thinking. And like he was like freaking out. And he was definitely like joking, but like at the same point, I'm wondering if he like, is getting like in his head and like worrying about like, or if it like upsets him at all these people like talking about him, or because like, yeah, I don't know. It would be crazy to have this massive amount of fans, even though like it's a small scale compared to a lot of things, but it is weird.
I think we all put the Film Junk guys up on a pedestal above us in regards to like we all kind of aspire to have a friend group like they do, have success, talking about our passion like they do, and it can just be kind of come out in weird ways when we're interacting with them, forgetting that they're probably dealing with as much weirdness in regards to being like, well, so and so knows so much about me, I don't know anything about them, yada yada yada. It's like it's a weird interaction. It's a weird social interaction for us have like thousands of hours of listening time, thinking time to then go and interact with them, and in a way that, to be honest, would probably not be considered healthy in regards to the amount that we've like consumed Film Junk. But at the end of the day, I think everyone's intention is that we want to be like them and we want to be friends with them, and we just want them to love us.
Yeah. Well, we were actually, before we went on air, we were talking about like meeting celebrities, and I think this rings true with this situation as well. Anytime I interact with the guys or like with any of the hosts, like I try to think of them just as normal people, because that's what they are. They are just normal people. They're not these superstars. Like they're just people. And so whenever I've like talked to Jay and like we've done like a movie review or whatever, I do feel nervous because like this is somebody I've been like looking up to for a long time. But I try to just think like he's just a normal guy who's doing this cool thing. We get to talk about movies, and if I ever hung out with him, or not hung out with him, but like if I met him in person or whatever, I would try to approach it from the same way. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that is a healthier thing to do. Get rid of the whole like Fugazi way of thinking that's not accurate because it's made up of like vain imaginations. It's just better to just be cool, be chill, be nice. Never try to make someone's life worse than it is by either being obsessive about them or being a jerk to them. And at the end of the day, you're just sort of like, yeah, man, let's just be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's
well, it's interesting how we talked about Stutz and we were talking about psychoanalysis, and now we're psychoanalyzing our entire relationship with Film Junk. But it's come full circle.
Yeah, and I think we just leave it on our kind of life advice, which is just be cool, be chill, listen to Film Junk, but don't put them on a pedestal. Treat them just kind of like they're like normal people, and then life will be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And on that note, let's bring this extra long episode to a close. I'm FilmApe.
And I'm Drew. See you later.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.